Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's MilSpouse Transition live stream. I'm Anna Larson, your host, and I'm so excited to be talking today about high stress change. I know, so excited. Why in the world would I be excited to talk about this? Because my guest today is going to be bringing us 4 fabulous tips to help military spouses navigate the high stress change that comes with transitioning out of active duty military service. Now, we all think that we're prepared for something like this, and then it happens, and we don't know what we don't know. So, when high stress change comes, are you implementing the right habits and routines in your life to make sure that you're going to be successful at transitioning and having a positive body and mindset to go along with that? So, today we are going to be talking about the 4 tips to navigate high stress change with my guest, Krystalore Crews. And I am going to go ahead and pull up her bio and introduce her right now so you can all meet this amazing woman that's going to give us this fantastic information. All right. So, Krystalore is a 22-year United States Air Force veteran, a former NFL cheerleader, a 26-time marathoner. Oh my gosh, already she's blowing me out of the water. Fitness and resilience coach, motivational speaker, best-selling author, and leadership consultant. Her igniting energy paired with her story of resilience packs a punch. She empowers others to cruise beyond limit by sharing her experience from the military, cancer, and wheelchair-bound struggles to her days as a competitive professional athlete, dancer, and entrepreneur. Okay, there is such a story here, and I cannot wait to hear a little bit more about it. She's a motivational speaker, author, coach, business consultant, and retreat leader on a mission to empower every person on the planet to put themselves first for just 34 minutes per day. And now I'm directly talking to you, transitioning military spouses. So let me remove this and let me, without further ado, bring up Krystalore to say hi. Hi,
Hello.
Krystalore.
Hi.
How are you today?
Oh, I am so wonderful. How are you today?
I'm good. It's been it's been a little frantic, but always a pleasure to have a chance to talk about things that I feel so passionate about. And I know this is like a big passion of yours.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a journey.
Okay, so I'm curious. I know listen, I do this all the time. I'm going to apologize. I didn't warn you in advance, but I go off script all the time on these transition shows. So can I throw you just like into the fire and say, can you tell us a little bit about your personal story and kind of like how this all came about that you became this I guess high stress change, like business coach, leadership coach, all these things that I just read in your bio?
Yeah, absolutely. Power of the pivot, right? So I'm ready for anything. Always being ready is the name of my game. Being ready for change, I'm good for it. So thank you. So thank you for having me first, Anna. To answer your question, a little bit about my story. I grew up in a small town on an island in Buffalo, New York, just outside Buffalo. And I joined the military just to pay for college, actually, with a friend of mine right after 9/11. So I joined when I was 2. So if you do the math, right? So I joined, and then I was going through my undergrad, and I ended up being an NFL cheerleader. So NFL cheerleader for the Buffalo Bills. And as I was growing my military career, climbing the corporate ladder, trying to figure out what adulthood was like, I made it to the NFL, which was a huge feat in itself, carrying on a legacy from my aunt who went to the Super Bowl in 1993. So that was really cool to be able to continue this legacy, to serve my country, go to college, be in the NFL. And what I found was that I was doing a whole lot of stuff and I really wasn't taking care of my body. And and not only that, but I wasn't making good choices in relationships. And so I was in a toxic relationship. Most importantly, I was in a toxic relationship with myself. And I ended up in a wheelchair being diagnosed with a really rare form of rheumatoid arthritis. And I gained a lot of weight. They tried to kick me out of the military. They put me on all kinds of medication. And I took so much medication, and they were like, you're never going to be an athlete again. You're never going to be able to walk again without endless amounts of medication. And so in those moments, I was like, there's got to be another way. Mm-hmm. And so I worked with my doctors. I mean, I'm giving you a very Cliff Notes version. There's a lot more to the story, of course. But for the sense of time, I worked with my doctors. I got off of all the medication. It took an entire year. And I learned about the power of anti-inflammatory diets, movement, nutrition, therapy, mental health, physical health. I found God. There's a lot of things that happened at the young age of 22. And I built a toolkit to be able to navigate all of life's stressors and pressures. And so that's what I love to train people on. And that wasn't the first time. If, fast forward, growing my military career, I ended up meeting my husband, who is in the Army. So I've been a military spouse for the last 7 years. And I'm sure we're going to go over these points even in more detail in our conversation today. But I was active duty, and then we decided as a couple that my position was going to take a back seat. So I resigned my active duty position to go into the Air National Guard part-time, and then we moved away from everything we knew. So I had an identity crisis, and I thought I had it all together, and I was not prepared. So I ended up starting my business from there. 2 years later, I was growing my business. We moved twice in that time period. And when you have two high performers, and as a couple, it's like, can you stop getting promoted already so we don't move all the time? But that was the name of the game and what I signed up for. So and 2 years later, I ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. So I was challenged again to be able to implement these tools in this transition. And then COVID happened a year later. And so I flipped everything to online training and consulting. I also started a diversity and inclusion consulting company during that time. And I've been doing this since 2017, well before COVID and the civil unrest. So I was prepared for that pivot in a better way because I had the tools in place. And so here we are 5 years later. Another season of change just happened in the last 3 months of my life. I moved to Puerto Rico with 10 suitcases. And so there's a whole lot more to this story, but change is my middle name and resilience is the game that I play.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I just have to say, Krystalore, like hearing your story, I mean, every time you talk about one of these things that would happen, it was like, and then you're like, and then I pushed through it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you're literally the epitome of every military spouse I know. Now, whether it's the same struggle or not, right? But then I pushed through it and got to the other side. Then I pushed through it and got to the other side. I am so excited to talk to you today about like all of the different things that you have put into place that you can share with military spouses that are going through this transition change. I mean, some of yours were transition related, but all of them were high stress, right? Yeah. So, it's a little tongue in cheek, this first question, right? But when we're talking about transitioning out of the military and where that falls on the stress meter, like really, what are you seeing in terms of like, there's like the, what do I have for lunch today stress meter? And then there's the, my entire life is changing stress meter. Like, what would you say to transitioning military spouses about what to expect from this level of stress that we're talking about right now versus that lesser level, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think, if you were to quantify it in a number, the stress level is like 10,000. You said like from 1 to 10, it's like, it's up there. It's like crisis mode, right? And what I have found over the years of many different transitions in life, in fitness, in business, in the military, as a spouse, is that when we are in this change, right, we want certainty, and as humans we want we want comfortability, and we want predictability. And what happens is this change there's a lot that is up in the air, right? As a military spouse, you're always waiting for like, oh gosh, when are we going to get orders? Are they going to change them at the last minute? When are we actually moving? What do schools look like? Where are we going to live? Are we living on base? There's so much that we have to think about that most of the population does not think about, right? Yeah. And so I think ultimately we're conditioned to live in that, like what I call the messy middle. It's the point of which something's about to happen, and the next level version of your life, that pause right there is so critical to be able to take care of yourself and your health and your family, and try to be as present as possible and stay out of the anxiety and the worry and all the mess that happens in those moments, right? And so as an emotional intelligence and fitness coach, really having a set of non-negotiables and understanding your body under stress, I think, is paramount. And also understand that it is a process and it's a journey. And there's going to be parts of your life and your identity that you're going to be grieving. So the second I found out that, gosh, this is a grief process, I started to understand it in a little bit, and you probably can speak to this a whole lot more than I can. But, once we want to control things as humans, right? So once I understood that it is going to be a process, and just like if you say, for instance, a loved one or a grandparent or a parent, passes, you go through a process and you give yourself love and grace and space to heal, right? It's no different when you're transitioning in your career or in a relationship, and or if you're moving to another city or there's uncertainty. Your body and your nervous system is going to go through a process that we don't have a crystal ball. And my name's Crystal, and I have a Crystal Clear Life Planner. We can plan all the things, but we really don't know how we're going to react and respond. The only thing that we can do in these times is to really pause, give ourselves some really good self-love and self-care, and have a system and a routine and a set of non-negotiables that is going to help make us unshakable, unbreakable, and unstoppable so we can take ourselves to the next level.
My gosh, I love that so much. Everything you just said, I wanted to be like, yes, 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 as we went through that conversation. In fact, okay, so for anyone that, well, you wouldn't know this because the whole reason this live stream even came about is because Krystalore actually posted a LinkedIn post that I read way back in January, and it inspired me so much. I reached out and I said, I need you to come on and talk about high stress change and just that process, the process you're talking about, right? And I love that you called it a grief process too, because I think a lot of times we don't use that word because we're like, we should have this, right? We feel that need to feel like we're on top of it all the time because we've always handled everything just fine before, and we're going to do the same with this. But there really is truly a grief process, and sometimes it's overwhelming and you're not prepared for it. So anyway, this LinkedIn post that Krystalore had put up there, she had listed out 4 things, and it was kind of like a new year, like get your year started right, rethink how things are going for you. But I felt like it applied so well to just some basic routines and structures that I hope military spouses are thinking about as they near or go through and or on the other side of transitioning out of active duty service. So, Krystalore, can we just jump in with the first one? Your very first tip that you had given me was your mindset and your daily habits.
Okay, so the best thing I can do, I love to give short, tangible, tactical strategies so you can move now, right? Because in the midst of change, it can be very overwhelming. And we're like, we have to go keto and, do all these things and, eat 4 blueberries and 10 almonds and then do 3 hours of cardio and, read 10 books in 1 week. No, right? And I think a lot of us, especially as women, we're all or nothing kind of people, right? And so when that's overwhelming, we tend to do how much? Nothing. Or we might do it for 1 or 2 days and then we fall off. So what I love to do is chunk it down. So I have what's called the 34-minute mindset. And I'm going to show you it, hopefully with it not blurred. I have the Crystal Clear Life Planner. It's a women's 90-day action plan to embrace chaos and live a fulfilling life. I mean, what military spouse doesn't need that, right? Right. So, and I actually wrote this and designed this system as a 34-minute mindset to be able to honor and own each day. So I do vision board workshops. I have one coming up. I do it once a quarter, one coming up this weekend. And so every quarter I do these vision board workshops every 90 days. And I map out, what does my dream day look like? All right. And it starts with a bigger picture. Okay. What does retirement look like? Right. I'm about to retire in less than 30 days from the military. I have 1 day left in boots. Huge transition. What does life look like after that? And then we narrow it down. Okay, if we want life to look like this and we want our dream day to wake up and you open your sliding glass door and you're living 10 steps from the ocean, like I am right now, then you have to backwards plan. And I think so often in the military, we tend to do that very well. So why not do that with your health and your fitness? So when we backwards plan, we say, okay, what are our non-negotiables for today? Let's just say, all right, just today, what can we focus on? So 34 minutes in 1 day is 2% of your day because we have 1,440 minutes in a day. So 34 minutes. So I'm going to chunk this down for you so it's super easy. And if you get my planner or not, it's like you just write it down so that you're in control. You're in the driver's seat. So we start with 2 minutes in the morning. I drink my coffee. I listen to music. I have my favorite song. It's Rise Up by Andra Day. So if you've gone through anything hard, that song just pierces my soul and it just inspires me so much. So I listen to that every single morning without fail with my coffee and my journal for 2 minutes. And I write down, what am I grateful for? Starting with gratitude and presence in the day of how much we have versus what we have not accomplished or what we don't have really just starts and honors the day. And I start with prayer as well, if that resonates with you. And then I say, what is one goal I can focus on just today? What's one thing I can focus on? And then my top 5 priorities. What are the needle making moves that I need to do in my day to be able to meet that goal? So it's all tied in together. And then I say, who needs me at 100% today? And then who can I make smile today? So it's not about me, not always about me. It's about honoring my presence and being in gratitude for the things that have happened in the last 24 hours and who I can reach out to and make smile today. And then also prioritizing my needs. And in that prioritization, there's a time blocking, there's a schedule on the left-hand side in the morning prompts. And it says, where is my workout? So 30 minutes of movement. So we have 2 minutes in the morning of gratitude and goal setting. Then we have 30 minutes of movement. Now I teach 30-minute HIIT and kickboxing sessions. So you can do mine or you go for a walk, yoga, CrossFit, biking, hiking, whatever. Move your body for 30 minutes every single day. And then 2 minutes at the end of every day, we say, all right, how did we do today? What did we accomplish? What were our wins? How did we pour into the people in our life today? Who did we make smile? Did we do everything we said we were going to do? How was your workout? How was your nutrition and your hydration? What got in the way from you attending to all the things that you needed to today? And what can we do differently tomorrow? So it's a constant feedback loop of every single day, owning the day.
I was just going to say that it's like you're your own accountability partner by coming back at the end of the day, even just for 2 minutes to say, did I get done what I needed to do? And you, I mean, you didn't mention this, but I'm assuming then not beating yourself up necessarily if you don't, but being able to say, all right, tomorrow I can do better in this area, or tomorrow I can improve here, or to say, you know what, I nailed it the best I could today and I'm moving on. And tomorrow's a brand new day and I'm going to choose something else.
That's right.
The other thing I really loved about what you said is kind of that idea of no man is an island, right? Like that idea of you are present in so many other people's lives and recognizing who is going to be part of your ecosystem for that day and how you need to show up for them. I think that's something we don't stop and think about, or we feel like we are thrown into automatically and we don't have a chance to like prep ourselves for. So I love that you've included that in your daily planner as well. Okay, so now one of the things you mentioned actually falls under your tip number 2 that was in that LinkedIn post, which is your fitness and your workout routine. Can we talk a little bit more about what that looks like? Because this, I think, stumps so many of us where we're like, she's telling me to exercise again, right? And it's like, if you don't have that habit, it's so hard to start. This is every New Year's resolution for my entire life, right? So tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so I would love to speak to my program because it is great for anybody, even someone that is just starting. So I offer modifications. It's 30 minutes, including warm up and cool down. 30 minutes of movement. All right, including your warm up, including your cool down, you have 30 minutes, and it's no equipment. So there's really no excuse to not move your body. You don't have to leave your house. You don't even have to leave your kitchen. Or if your kids are at the doctor's, you can do it in the parking lot. Or you can do it in the hallway. You can do it from a hotel room. You can do it from your kitchen, your patio, anywhere you want. And I travel all over the world. And so my clients get a different backdrop. So I stream 3 times a week. And, it's a matter of just getting started, and lacing up is the hardest part, right? And then the second hardest part is having the accountability, which you spoke to, right? We can have our own self-accountability. And that's what I love to help people do, is love themselves through trusting themselves. But sometimes we need a little bit of nudge. So I have a really supportive community with accountability group chat where you can ask questions, you can ask for support and say, hey, we're all doing this workout. They're posting their sweaty selfies, their before and after pictures, which aren't required in my program. But all that matters is that you just start and you start moving, and every single day you get stronger, because what we do is confidence really is the end game, right? We want to feel more confident. We want to feel better in our clothes. We want to wear less black. We want to feel good in our clothes, especially with summer coming up pretty soon. Those tank tops, you can't hide those shoulder caps, right? And you want to wear shorts, right? We want to feel good in our skin, and it's the only body that we live in. So when we continuously show up to just not be perfect and allow it to be messy and just modify and do what you can with what you've got, you build on the skill every time you show up, and you get stronger. And that elevates your motivation, because it's a feeling of accomplishment. Like, wow, I have so many clients that said, I couldn't even do a plank or a push-up 3 months ago, and here I'm doing burpees and I'm not even winded anymore. Or my last client said, I just lost 68 pounds. That's more than my son since November. And it's just such a great feeling to not be winded, to have more energy, so we can feel good and want to take the pictures and want to go on those vacations and be in the bathing suit and wear the rompers and the cute dresses and the skinny jeans. So I always say the work works when you do the work, and you're not going to be great when you start, but you have to start to be stronger and then be great.
Yeah, I love that so much. So I have to tell you, I used to be a walker. And when I say used to, it's because I fell out of my routine. I walked 4 miles a day, every day, and I did it for a really long time. And then there was this smashing massive change that happened, not transition. It was something totally unrelated, right? But it threw me off my routine. And I have not fully been able to get back into that process. But I'll tell you what I started just a few weeks ago. I started getting up every day and I started just doing stretching. Like every morning I spend about 15 minutes, rotating my ankles, doing my stretches, doing a couple of yoga poses. And while it's not my walk, I know what I'm doing is because I'm not ready to jump back into that walking yet. I know this. I know if I try and start, like I'll frustrate myself right this minute. So by doing this, I feel like I'm almost like, clearing the pathway for me to finally be able to take that next step. So I just want to encourage any military spouse out there, right? Like, I love what Krystalore does. I love that you can do it from a parking lot in your doctor's office. I love that you can do it in a hotel room or in your kitchen or wherever you're at. Like, I think that's an important part of a routine, is give yourself permission to not make it so incredibly structured that you feel like a failure if you cannot make it. But also to remember that if you're doing those little things to clear the path on your way to creating a better fitness routine for yourself, give yourself some grace and a little pat on the back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So along with fitness, right, we're always talking about nutrition. So tip number 3 becomes a nutrition plan. And I loved the caveat that she put on there, that works for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about this, Krystalore?
Yeah. So first off, I want to just disclose I'm not a registered dietitian or nutritionist. I love to help people have a really healthy relationship with food. As an emotional intelligence coach, I know firsthand too, being in a wheelchair, surviving cancer, like there's a lot of stress, and we tend to eat our feelings. And it's an emotional response, a lot of the decisions that we make, right? And yeah, everyone, myself included.
My feelings. I do it.
I ordered I had a whole tub of ice cream before, right? And I was like, I'm lactose intolerant. I know what my body needs, but right, and I'm still human, right? It was kind of an experiment. But anyways, I was like, it was a beeline for the grocery store for the ice cream. And it's no one is immune to this. And I think what's really cool about the way that I love to have a relationship with food is that I have a sweet tooth, and I love a glass of wine with dinner every once in a while, right? And so, and I love pizza. I grew up in Buffalo with pizza and chicken wings, right? And so I don't want to really like negate all the things that I love. But what I do love to do is say, you know what, I'm moving my body and I understand what the caloric intake I need to have and the healthy portions. And I eat probably about 95% clean, right, throughout the week. And I take it like week to week. So I prepare my meals in advance so that I make sure that I have good nutrients, clean eating. I eat as clean as possible with lean ground beef, chicken, turkey, boneless, skinless chicken breast, eggs. I eat pretty clean, and I have a grocery list if you want access to that. It's really simple: vegetables, everything on the outside perimeter of the grocery store is typically where you want to stay for the most part. And so then don't deny the things that you do enjoy. Just have a healthy, moderate. How do you even say that? Moderate your the portions.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like
I'm in a
the
part.
balance, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that way we're giving ourselves some grace and enjoying. Like, if it's your birthday, have freaking birthday cake,
Yeah.
right? But that doesn't mean we go off in a spiral for 3 days of, eating a blizzard and a whole bag of chips and then driving through the drive-through because we did one thing and everything is going downward. So one thing that I love to train, this is one tip to think about, is just consider perhaps tracking and collecting data for your body. So what that might mean is get a panel at the doctor's, right? See which foods you might be allergic to or intolerant to. And then also know that you might want to figure out what your body type is and how much calories and what your macronutrients that you need to be putting into. And I teach this at a very basic level in my programs, but basically helping you understand, okay, what does a good day look like where I feel at my best? And it's not like so over obsessively with tracking every single little thing, but I think we need to collect some data first before we make some really educated decisions on making a change in our nutrition. So that might mean getting a nutritionist, going to the doctor, getting a panel, recognizing where your supplements need to be maybe implemented, especially if you're in the Northeast or you're working from home and you don't see a lot of vitamin D. You might be vitamin D deficient or B12 deficient, which impacts our metabolism. So there's a lot of things to consider before we say, oh, I'm going keto or I'm doing the intermittent fasting and I'm not eating for, 3 days straight and I'm just going to do a cleanse. And, it's just that's not sustainable. What I love to do is help people figure out what is a long-term lifestyle so we can look at a buffet and say, you know what, here's what I need because food is fuel for me so that I can reach that, I can recover quicker, go to that next workout, be able to be on stage for 8 hours at a time like I do, and be able to sustain this level of energy. Our body is like a vehicle. We need to fuel it properly. And that means we got to open up the hood a little bit and understand what's going on.
Yeah. Something I wanted to like that you kind of inspired in my brain as you were talking about this is the idea that by getting a nutritionist or by doing some of these like panels at your doctor or investing in like your body type and all of that kind of stuff and really taking a deep dive into that data is kind of like it's essentially investing in yourself, and to not think of it in terms of like, oh, just another thing I have to do, right? But to look at it in terms of like, this is an investment in who I am and where I want to be. And especially as we start to reach those certain ages of which I am absolutely there and a part of. And you think your body's invincible and it's never going to break down when you're in your 20s and even sometimes in your 30s, and then you hit your 40s and or your 50s and all of a sudden you're like, what is going on? Like, I never expected this to happen, right? I still feel very young. I have small children. I have this, right? And you're not expecting, but your body does start to break down, and being able to invest and know where you're at is going to be a huge and important part, especially during high stress times of change, especially during that, because that's when we eat our feelings. That's when we break our exercise routines. And jumping into number 4 tip from Krystalore, that's also when we have terrible sleep habits and we sit on our phones until like midnight watching a movie or something like that, and then wonder why we're tired at 6 a.m. the next morning. So tell us about sleep schedules, Krystalore.
Yes. Okay. So I will say, and I totally just made this up just now, and I'm probably going to put it in a LinkedIn post later. So the S's. So I teach my 5 C's in my book, Road to Resilience. But when it comes to sleep, think about your S's. Okay. So 3 S's, your sleep schedule, right? Your sleep has everything to do with your stress level and the level of scrolling.
Mm.
So if you're stressed and you're scrolling, your sleep is going to be impacted. So we got to take control, go back into the driver's seat and say, okay, how are we managing our stress? Right. And if we're sleeping more, where our body is rejuvenating, right? So between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is the typical cycle where your body is optimizing and regenerating its cells, right? So I love to make sure that I'm in bed by 10. And so that means we have to backwards plan, right? So we set ourselves up for success so we can wake up on time tomorrow. So our evening routine is something that I think a lot of people are like, I want to wake up earlier. I need to do all these things in the morning, when then we're staying up all night and scrolling or Netflix or eating late, right? All of these things can impact our sleep schedule and our ability to rejuvenate and feel refreshed in the morning so we can wake up and work out and eat healthy. And it's a cycle, right? So managing your stress. So making sure we get the workout. Crystal, I'm too tired. I hear it all the time. I'm too tired to work out. Well, you'll have more energy and you'll sleep better if you start moving your body, right? And then when we manage our stress by being mindful and meditating. So I nap every day, and I learned a very good practice to be able to shut my body down, and I turn off all my notifications on my phone, and I say, brain, whatever's happening right now in my life and in my brain can wait 15 minutes, because I know that I need this time for myself. And I meditate myself and I relax every bone and muscle in my body, to include my tongue and my jaw. So consider, if you're holding stress in your body, relaxing your tongue, relaxing your shoulders, and we hold a lot of stress in our pelvic floor as well, women. Many women do that. So really managing the stress and being able to learn the tools to be able to ground and navigate life stressors and pressures in a healthy way, to be able to calm our body and our nervous system down so we can sleep healthy. But also developing the system and the habits, I think, is crucial. And that evening routine is really powerful, to be able to set those healthy boundaries so that you can rest and recover, and not where, oh, like I slept for 4 hours and I'm good, as a badge of honor, because I used to do that and it does not work.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's sustainable long term, right? I mean, it just isn't. Our bodies aren't set up for 4 hours of sleep. It's set up for more than that. I love these 4 tips. I know that anyone, all of you who are listening live right now, right? I know you've heard these before, or catching the replay, I should say, as well, right? I know you've heard these before. You've heard these 4 things before. They probably went on all of your New Year's resolutions, in your 20s and 30s and 40s, when you're like, I'm going to improve things, and these are the 4 ways I'm going to do it. I just want to reiterate that we're talking about this in terms of like high stress change. So taking stock of where you are and evaluating where you're currently at. And I like to think about almost like a step ladder, right? So you look at a ladder and there's 10 rungs, and maybe you're on rung 2, or maybe you're on rung 5, or maybe you're on rung 7. But if you even just tweak this enough to go one more rung up, it's going to have a massive effect on your ability to navigate that transition change. And I think that's why I wanted to pull Krystalore in it, just to remind us that even taking that next small step up the ladder from where you're at now to what you could be doing differently is really going to help you with that, with the feelings and the grief process that we talked about a little bit earlier, and just knowing that you're going to be okay in the end when all this is done. Would you add anything to that, Krystalore?
Yes, it's so powerful. And one thing that I always love to share is that the brain keeps track of the times that you show up for yourself and your health. It's like putting money into your health bank account, and your health is your wealth, right? And so I also know, as I study human behavior and psychology, that the brain also keeps track of the times that you cancel on yourself. And so especially in high stress times, when you cancel on yourself and you put everyone and everything else ahead of yourself, your body keeps score of that, and it takes count. And that's where the blame and the shame and the overwhelm and the guilt and the depression and the anxiety comes from. So why not give your gift of just you first for 34 minutes a day? Because the brain will keep track, and it'll say, ding, there she is again. Ding, ding, there she is again, or he is again. And really, it's like you're honoring yourself, and you're going to be a more present, powerful, confident human to be able to take on the next level version of you and the stress that comes your way. because you're going to be ready for it.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I could have said it any better. In fact, I didn't. Krystalore said it. She said it way better than I did. So I love that though. I want to end on that thought because I love that thought so much. It's like, and it's inspired me. I think I'm going to take a walk tomorrow. We're going to see what we can do, right? That's like the next rung on my ladder. I'll do my stretching and then I'm going to go for a walk. So there's my accountability goal right now. All of you check in with me and say, Anna, did you do your walk? Right? Like put me on the spot. Make sure you put me on the spot. Krystalore, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise in this area. I know that you have done so much education studies, talking with people, working with clients to get to where you are now. And I so appreciate you sharing it with our transitioning military spouse community. So just know how honored we are to have you here with us today. I also want to thank our sponsor, which is SpouseLink. Let me throw their little ticker up here. SpouseLink, powered by AFMA. So as a transitioning military spouse, I know you have more questions than answers. I know I did, that's for sure. But AFMA created SpouseLink to help it support, inform, and inspire military spouses like you around the world with all the resources you need to lead your family back to civilian life. Check it out at spouselink.org, and you'll see that drop into the comments. And then I want to encourage you to head over to MilSpouse Transition, and there you're going to find a recap of this conversation with Krystalore, including links to all the places you can find her. Which reminds me, Krystalore, let me pull this up. Can you please tell people where to go to find you if they would like to connect, invest in your program, learn more about what you do? Tell them all the things.
Yes. Okay. So my top 3 socials that I work with is Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Obviously, where Anna found me. My website is KrystaloreCrews.com. And I also, fun fact, have a retreat coming up in Costa Rica. So this is an all-inclusive, ultimate wellness experience for you to just quiet the noise and spend a week with me. You actually get to live with me. So imagine going through the nutrition, the mindfulness, the fitness, the adventure, the fun, the coaching, the sisterhood and camaraderie to be able to take yourself to the next level. That is a magical thing that I love to do. So this Zoom is amazing, but definitely being in real life and being around other people that help elevate you. That's definitely another thing that I love to do. So if you have any questions, I would love to hop on a call with you. Just, 15, 20 minutes, see if I can accelerate you in any way and give you resources to shorten that time period of self-doubt and overwhelm for you. Because someone further along than you that has paved the way already, they don't want you sitting there alone and isolating. They want to connect with you and they want to help you. So I want to help you too. So reach out. I'd love to connect in any way possible. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. And with that, we are going to wave goodbye and say thank you so much for joining us on this MilSpouse Transition live stream. We will see you on the next one, which will be dropping soon from my LinkedIn page or on Facebook or all the different places. You know where to find me. Krystalore, thank you again. And I look forward to seeing all of you transitioning spouses again soon.
Bye.